Welcome back to Spool Monster TV, and welcome to the aftermath of a 6-liter getting studs. So yeah, you can see here's all the parts I got out. Got the heads over there on the floor. It took about 7 hours to do, start to finish. I lost a little bit of time looking for some bolts that fell, but here's one of the head gaskets here. You can kind of see, like right there is where most of them are blown. I mean, there was at least like probably 4 or 5 cylinders that were blown out, and it seemed to be on that bottom edge there. So they definitely need to be done. So, but everything else looked pretty good. Valve train's in good shape. Injectors are good. The only thing I had to replace on the injector, which I knew, so I had ordered the injector plug on this. This is the number 8 injector. When I took the truck apart a few years ago, someone worked on it before and they broke the clip, so I used like gasket maker to pretty much hold the harness on there. So I swapped that out while I had it apart. I had that ordered because I knew that was bad. But yeah, everything else seems to be in pretty good shape. The turbo has a little bit of wear to it, but I think it's got some miles still left on it. It's got a little bit of play in it, but I figured I'd run it, and then eventually I'll probably put a turbo and do the exhaust and stuff. And you know, even the exhaust, there's no leaks on any of the like billows and that, because usually you'll see some like leaks here and there, but it's all pretty good. So nothing unexpected on that, so which is always good. Gotta give you let you take a look at what it looks like once you get those heads off. Now the only thing I do have to still pull off is the high pressure oil pump, which is underneath that cover right there. I'll probably do that tomorrow. Probably swap out the STC fitting, get it back together. That way it's ready to go. And then really all I have to do on the block is, I got it covered up there so I don't get dirt and crap in there, but you can see it's got to all be cleaned off. And the way I'm gonna do that is, which a lot of people say to do, is with a like a honing stone you would use to sharpen a knife, and some WD-40 I guess is the best way to do it without gouging it, because if you use like a razor knife, well, I guess a razor knife would probably be okay if you're careful, but some guys will use like little sanding discs and that on air tools, and if you put little grooves in there, then it's definitely not going to seal. But yeah, it's pretty much just get the block prepped and get that STC swapped out, and then it'll be pretty much ready to go. Still kind of figuring out if I'm going to take it to a shop, the heads. I mean, it's probably better to, I mean, you can't really tell by looking at it if they're warped, but I've got to get a straight edge. I was going to maybe check it first and see if they're still within, you know, tolerance. I might just throw them back on there. I don't know. Really right now, as it's Saturday, Monday I'll probably give the shop a call, but I probably will end up checking them first. And then I'm going to pull these manifolds off. I mean, they're a little rusty, but I think they're still in pretty good shape, so I'm going to probably just like clean them off and repaint them with some like high temperature paint, just to keep them from corroding anymore. And then I had to cut, these bolts are a through bolt, and I ended up cutting them with a torch. That was really the only way I could get a cut on. I mean, I guess if you had like a little grinder or something like that, you could probably get to them, but yeah. So I don't know, I'll figure out what I'm going to do with the heads, and then if I do take the heads in, I got to pull the glow plugs, and this little top half where the glow plugs sit into actually separates from the head, so I'll pull that. But and that's the other thing, actually. Probably when you do that, if you guys you know, ever do this, it's probably a good idea to actually pull the glow plug, because you can see the tip of the glow plug actually sticks out. So if you know, pick the head up wrong or slide it, you could break a tip off. And then same thing with the injectors. I pulled the injectors before I took the heads out, because the tip of the injector sticks out as well, and you don't want to get that caught trying to pull it out. But overall everything looks pretty good, so I was happy with how everything came out. And yeah, I mean, I'm probably gonna throw a new belt on too, because you know, I was kind of thinking it'd probably be a little easier to do that before I put it back together. Yeah, and I think the only special tool I really bought was like a torque bit. Oh, it's somewhere around here. right here. It's just like an extended torque bit for pulling the injector. As you can see on your injector, you got the hole down in that bolt, so this sets right there and kind of clears the top. I mean, a regular torque bit might work, but basically the head of the socket kind of hits it, so you can't get it lined up right. So I mean, I'd recommend buying one of those. It's just a little easier. That's really the only tool I bought. I mean, there's a lot of good information online on how to do it. And I guess one of the biggest things I did, which if you guys haven't watched any of his videos, check out 60 Doctor. He pretty much shows you step for step how to do this cab on, and you can see, you know, AC heater box is all intact. I didn't take any of that off. Yeah, I didn't have to dent the firewall or anything. So check him out, 60 Doctor. He'll show you pretty much step for step how to do this. And I mean, real quick, how you kind of do this is, I mean, you basically pull the driver's side head. So you pull all this stuff on the front, your fan shroud. You start pulling your harnesses. You pull your driver's side head first. That gives you room to remove the motor mount. So what you do is you actually, there's two nuts that hold the motor mount on right here. You can see these two bolts stick to the frame. You take those nuts off. Then you, well, actually, before you lift the engine, you've got to pull the valve cover and the oil rail off the passenger side, which I didn't do, so it made it kind of tight, and I had to actually split the mount apart. But to avoid that, you pull your passenger valve cover and oil rail, and what you do is you raise the driver's side of the engine up, you take the motor mount out, and then you drop the engine down on the driver's side, and that gives you enough room to remove the head with the AC box and all that stuff intact, so you don't have to pull that, because honestly I don't do plastic stuff, and that would, you know, take a little bit more time. You got to fill the AC back up, so that's kind of a quick thing. The only thing I had to do was like zip tie the head bolts, the 3 head bolts that are kind of like right in line with that box. There's not enough room to get them out, so you basically pull them up and leave yourself a little room to that box, and then just put a zip tie on it. And I might actually have them. You can kind of see how I put a zip tie on there, and that kind of holds it up in the head so it doesn't drag on the block, but so you can get the head out. And I'll have to do the same thing with the studs on those couple. There's a few that you kind of have to put in first, or you can't get them in because there's enough room. But yeah, everything went good. I'll keep you guys updated as it goes back together, and that's gonna wrap it up for today. Thanks for watching Spool Monster TV.